What's goody farmer friends? It is March 6th, 2026, 1 p.m., Reno, Nevada. We are at Sunshine Farm, aka the Soil Solidarity Plot, incubator plot for Sunshine Farm, and we are going to do a little bit of a farm walkthrough today. If that's something you're interested in, stick around for this late winter, early spring update. It's always a little bit difficult recording out here, trying to get the best lighting and full sun, but we're going to do the best that we can. So these two beds are the original length that all of these 11 beds were. It's actually the two right here and the two on the end are the same length. But all of these middle beds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, have all been extended. So these were actually Hügelmound extensions, whole bunch of sticks, debris, leaves, no soil, and then wood chips on top. So I was looking at pictures from last March. I'll try to insert a picture here. But since all of the beds last year were this length, about 20 feet, now we've added on about 4 feet per all of those beds. I was motivated and forced to plant a little bit more dense. All of the beds last year looked more at this density. But since I have a little bit more space, I wasn't feeling so compelled to plant as dense, but I'm seeing that I maybe should have, because it doesn't look like there is as much garlic planted, but that could also just be a mirage. We'll see. And I've spoke about this in other videos, but we'll go through it real quick. First bed was planted in September. Middle beds were planted in October, and then the last 2 beds down on the end were planted in November, and that was just due to the amount of time that I had. So garlic harvest in about the 3rd week of June out here in Reno, Nevada, at least for me and my varieties. I'm used to it harvesting in the 3rd week of July in Vermont, so about a month ahead of schedule, and that leaves me up for a good timing to get the garlic out and then get in a whole bunch of vegetable starts to farm the beds for the rest of the season. So with all of that being said, I've learned from my mentor, Sean Dembrowski, Edible Acres. If you have limited space, especially limited storage space, one good way to harvest your garlic and process it / dry it is to stack it high in milk crates. You could do like 8 to 10 milk crates high, and then put a box fan on the top, shooting air down to help the circulation. But so when the garlic comes out, I'll try to insert another picture here. We actually lay, so historically you would, I don't know if that's the right word, but we're going to use it. You would harvest your garlic, put them in bunches of 10 to 15, whatever feels right to you, and then you would hang your garlic on the wall to dry. Since we have limited storage space and we're up to the 100-pound mark now, what we do is harvest the garlic, chop the stalk off, put the head of garlic in a milk crate, and then we lay the stalks on the bed for a mulch, increasing that organic matter, suppressing weeds, retaining moisture. And the garlic seems to cure just as good, even if not a little bit better. So you can see here we have planted pretty dense. In between these rows are a row of peaches, apples, and pears. So we're also going to have some locally adapted tree seed / fruit trees. coming up, so that's a second form of revenue. Get those all potted up. This bed I'm really happy with, looks very nice. And so not only have the beds been extended, but they've been widened. So I was able to do 6 rows wide in this bed. This is the most wide bed. And we also had, after the garlic came out last year, everything was cover cropped. So we had 6 weeks of harvest of mustard greens and lettuce from this bed right here, direct sowed on August 2nd. And then I had sown pumpkin seeds, my New England pie pumpkin seed that I have been saving for a while. These beds aren't on irrigation. We are in the driest region of the nation, Nevada, specifically Reno, Nevada, where we only receive on average 7 inches of rain a year. Most of our moisture comes through the winter from our snowpack, and the past 2 winters being last winter 2025, this year 2026, we haven't had a substantial amount of winter precipitation, at least in snowpack form, for the past 2 seasons. Through locals, I've heard that 2022, maybe 23, were big snowpack years in the valley. The mountains always tend to get some. You can even see there's still a little bit snow up on the mountains out there, but even when we do get snow in the valley, it tends to melt within a week because we're at 4,000 and some change elevation, maybe 4,500. So the intensity of the rays is much higher and it tends to melt. So bringing it back, we had the mustard greens and lettuce. Can't really remember, fresh my memory, but I was talking about the New England pie pumpkin that I had sown. These 2 beds were green zucchini, summer squash. I direct sowed the seeds sometime in July. They didn't even sprout until August, and I was watering, but there must have just not been enough moisture. And the theory is that you plant the seed, and no matter what, the seed will germinate when the seed knows it's time. So we had actually gotten some abnormally substantial summer rains, implying that the weather patterns are changing just like everywhere in the world. And so all of those pumpkins and summer squash that I had sown actually came up a month later. And we did have nice harvests of green zucchini, summer squash. So any economical crop can be looked at as a cover crop. So even though that I wasn't selling any of the crops, all of these annuals that we were harvesting from, eating from, acted as a cover crop. We snipped them off at the top of the plant, left the root zone in the ground, and that is number one good source of carbon sequestration. These last 3 beds, I was granted mid-season. So I had a whole bunch of cover crop seed left, amaranth, oats, winter rye. That's what you see right here, some winter rye that had overwintered and came up through the mulch. I'm gonna let that grow, chop and drop it right before it goes to seed, and that's gonna help out with you know, the nitrogen to carbon ratio, aka your greens to browns. And then these last 2 beds worked out a deal so that I would have potential to farm all 11 beds when the garlic comes out in the 3rd week of June. So these 2 beds will get donated to Soil Solidarity, and then that leads me to have my 9 beds of garlic. They get donated, these 2, in exchange for allowing me to farm here, and then through that exchange I get to farm all 11 beds for the rest of the season. Contract is good until 2027, and we will adjust and adapt accordingly. I'm actually going to try and put in a picture right here to show you what this farm looked like at the beginning of October 2024, when I was just farming the first 6 beds. So try and put that picture in right here. So with that being shown, we've came a long way, and basically moving forward in a good way. Moved 3,000 miles across the country with my dog. Brought all the garlic with me that I've been growing since 2021. Started with 5 pounds, and like I said, we're over the 100-pound mark this year. And then potentially there's ability to farm here for another season into 2028, but we'll see how that all aligns. Some cool characters around the farm are this goji berry, also known as wolfberry. We got this native fern bush, grafted plum. Didn't get too much fruit last year, but hopefully we'll get some fruit this year. This is still the goji, native butterfly bush. And then over here we have some currant and jostaberry and currant, or maybe reverse, currant and jostaberry. Yeah, currant. And we also have green globe artichoke checking in, overwintered, took down to 17 degrees. And like I had said, all of this is hand watered, both sides. Nothing is on irrigation. So take pride in that, being in the driest region of the United States. So lots of potential here. And then the game plan is for when all of the garlic comes out in the 3rd week of June to have 500 Swiss chard plants and about 500 parsley plants. Those will all get intermixed, planted. It's 2 rows of 15. I gotta check my notes for the numbers, but I think it's something like 2 rows of 15 Swiss chard plants, and then you can do 30 parsley plants down the middle of that. And I've chosen those crops because through my observations of growing here in the first season, working on a lot of different properties, those seem to be 2 of the most disease resistant crops. They don't get aphids like the kale do. They cook through the whole, not cook, but they produce through the whole season. And so maybe the only other note to add to that is that when I do transplant the Swiss chard and parsley plants, we're going to want to get some shade cloth, because right when I'm going to be transplanting that 3rd week of June, basically the kickoff to summer, it is just so hot and the sun is so intense and extreme at that point. So adapting accordingly from the lessons that we've learned in the year previous. And then another fun addition is on this row, we've got about 5 different peaches, and then intermixed with some Great Basin sage. So they may be peaches, but I think they actually look like plums. I was told that they were peaches, but those just came from seed out of a nursery bed that the fruit had dropped its seed on irrigation lines. And this is that, I forget what kind of sage that is, but not native. Blackberry row, whole bunch of irises coming up down there as well, yarrow. And one other note that I forgot to add is that I went intense on the mulch this past season, trying to choke out all of the mallow, non-native mallow and bindweed. So something my mentor had talked about, Jim Kovaleski, is that everybody wants that fine, oh, we got some native Great Basin, blanking on it right now, Great Basin wild rye. And yeah, so something my mentor Jim Kovaleski has talked about is that finished compost is the 666 of organic agriculture, because it's here today and it's gone tomorrow. So when you have a compost with chunky debris, obviously this is just a straight up wood chip mulch, but taking that and basically adapting what he had said is that this takes time to break down, and obviously you need moisture for this to break down, so that's why keeping up on winter watering is very important. But when we do an update in the spring, or potentially pull the garlic out, you'll be able to see the soil that I've been able to build. Granted, this soil was already pretty built up, but we've built it up even more because we dig out the pathway at the end of the year, plop all of the organic matter and soil that's been building up in the pathways onto the bed to help suppress weeds, retain moisture, and build up the beds, increasing the water intake capacity of the pathways. And it's all about that slow release of nutrients. So every time that we water, it's like a compost tea, as to opposed if you're just doing a straight up compost mulch. When you have heavy rains, it tends to wash off the beds, and those nutrients don't stick around for long. Like I said, it's here today and it's gone tomorrow. So there has been roots in the ground growing essentially since I got here in October 2024. Maybe a few little gaps in between crossovers here and there, but the main goal is to have roots growing in your soil always, and if not, then a deep composition of thick mulches, thick, diverse local mulches. And all of these wood chips came for free from local tree companies that would have had to pay to dump the wood chips in a landfill elsewhere. So that is my update for early spring, late winter, March 6th. Still got about 2.5 weeks before the actual vernal equinox, and stay tuned for everything that we have planned. 2026 to the gusto. Peace, blessings, and wholeness always. Thank you for your support to all of my farmer friends, and we'll see you on the next one. Still so amazing to me. I'm used to gray, overcast for 7 to 8 months of the year. So one of the reasons I moved out here is just more year-round vitamin D. Committing to a healthier lifestyle. Contributing to a healthier lifestyle. See you on the next one. Thank you.